What's going on YouTube? Welcome back to another video at JDH Aquatics where we talk about anything aquariums related. Today we're going to do a quick tour of my aquariums for anyone new here that's curious as to what I have set up and the equipment that's running these tanks. But more importantly, we're going to be talking about the plans that I have for these aquariums because we are going to be moving and changing them up soon. And I think me making these videos and talking about them helps me figure out kind of what I want to do with these setups. So let's go ahead and run through a quick tour and tank breakdown of these aquariums, and then we'll jump into the plans. First and foremost, I think most people are interested in the 38 gallon. This is a Fiji Cube aquarium that I bought about a year and a few months ago. So it's been set up for, I don't know, maybe about 14 or 15 months. Up top for lighting, we've got the new Sight K7 Pro 3s. These are 120 watt LED fixtures. They've got really good color on them, and I've seen some pretty good growth on the corals, so been happy with these lights and they've been rocking. There's an app that controls them as well, so that's pretty nice to have. It's sitting on just kind of like a random dresser stand, so nothing too special there, but the tank itself is really nice. It's got low iron glass, the black silicone, and it's a built-in all-in-one tank. So we've got the filtration on the back side here. Inside we've got the innovative marine pump that's from this tank here. So we do have some controllability on the return pump. So that's what's going on back there. We have our ATO sensor right there, so that is controlling our salinity. So we've got a smart micro ATO back there, and we have a 100 watt cobalt heater back there as well. So that's all we have for equipment in the back chambers. We do not run any mechanical or chemical filtration, so there's no filter material in the back as well. For flow, we've got a J-Bow SCP-10, I want to say, maybe SPC-70, I don't know the model on that exactly, but it's a gyre style pump that works pretty well for this peninsula style tank. And we've got two J-Bow SLW10 power heads, so those push some water as well on the sides of the rock. But for equipment, that's pretty much all we've got going on for this tank. We've got a nice little control panel in the back there that has all of our controls and ballast and stuff like that. And we've got the ATO reservoir down here that's covered by a plant, but that's pretty much it for this tank. It's really simple and easy, and let's jump into the 20. The 20 gallon is even more simple than the 38 gallon. We've got pretty much the same equipment over this tank, except there is no ATO. So we do manual top off on this aquarium. It's an innovative marine 20 gallon Nuvo, so different brand, but it's still got the low iron glass and the black silicone. It's an all-in-one, so again, it's got the filtration built into the back. No mechanical or chemical filtration for this tank either. We've got a 50 watt fluval heater for some temperature regulation, even though my apartment typically stays around 78 degrees. And we've got a cheap Petco power head in there. I think once we set these tanks up again, I'm going to use the SLW10s from the 38 gallon and put them in here, but we'll talk about the plans here in a second. Other than that, that's pretty much all we have for the equipment. We've got another new Sight K7 Pro 3 up top that's running the same color spectrum as this tank over here. And then for the mangrove light, it's just a cheap Home Depot grow light for plants, and it works pretty well. So again, super simple setup on this aquarium as well, but everything's running good. This tank is on a black Imagitarium stand, so once we do set these tanks up again, I would like to put the 38 gallon on one of these stands because I feel like they're a little bit more sturdy than what this tank is on right now. And honestly, every day it kind of does stress me out having this heavy tank on this wooden dresser, but it's held up so far. I'm not gonna jinx it, but it's held up so far. And we got another stand sitting to my left for this tank, so once we do move, it's going to be set up on one of these nice metal stands. I did a recent video where I talked about the maintenance regimen I have for these tanks, so I won't talk about that, but I did just want to show you guys the equipment and the setups that we have for these aquariums so we can document it. And once we get them set up in the future, we can come back and reference to this video on what kind of changes we did to the tanks. But again, we're going to be talking about the plans for these aquariums today, so let's jump into that. The plan I had in my head was to set the 38 gallon up as a softy reef tank again. So pretty much have the same corals that we have in it right now. I would change up the aquascape a bit because we do want to position this tank as a true peninsula once we set it up again, so that we can view it from both sides. So the aquascape is going to be a little bit different. We're going to take those back racks off because of course from the other side it's going to look a little weird, but I think we're still going to try to go with this middle channel aquascape where most of the rock's sitting in the middle. I did contemplate putting in the mangroves into the 38 gallon in the future as a mangrove softy setup, but I'm just not fully in love with that. I can already kind of picture it and I'm not sure if that's what I want to go for. So we may need to figure out a different setup for the mangroves, and that's kind of what we're figuring out today. So we also have the 30 gallon long over here, and this is another tank that I need to figure out what we're gonna do with. This is a potential tank that we could set up for an SPS LPS dominated aquarium, and it does have the lid on top. So that's another part of this aquarium where we can't put in the mangroves because they're gonna be sticking out of the top. And this has such a nice lid setup that I want to utilize it for this aquarium. So the mangroves cannot go in this tank. Therefore, I think this has to be the LPS SPS aquarium, unless we do the softies and just throw them in here. But I'm thinking we're going to do the SPS inside of this tank. As for the 38 gallon, I still think I'm going to keep it as that softy aquarium. We may need to do some sort of different aquascape in this aquarium where maybe we do some sand sloping down from the back here with the mangroves up top, and we just do a bunch of softies in the front here where you're able to view it from both sides still. But I don't know, I think the 38 gallon is the biggest one that we need to figure out. This tank doesn't have a lid either, so I think I would like to put the mangroves in here somehow. The 20 gallon I have a lid for as well that's sitting to the side not being used, and I would like to put it on top once we get some fish in there. So the mangroves I think have to go in the 38 gallon since this doesn't have any sort of lid. So whatever we put in here, I think maybe the clownfish, since we know they're not going to jump out of this tank, but we're going to do minimal fish most likely in the 38 gallon, and maybe we'll do it as a macroalgae tank and put the softies somewhere else, but this is the biggest one we need to figure out. Talking about equipment a little bit for this tank, I think something that we're gonna need to switch up at some point is the lighting for this aquarium. As much as I love the new Sykes, and I will end up using them probably for the 30 gallon behind me, I wanna do some sort of L-shaped bracket or arm that comes up and drops over the tank kind of like that, instead of having these arm mounts on the back here. So some sort of strip LED that'll cover the whole tank, but an arm or bracket that comes off of the back chamber, so that when we do view it from both sides, we don't have these brackets on the glass here itself. So we need to get some sort of light that'll hang off of the all-in-one chamber in the back, canopying or drooping over the entirety of the tank. And if we do end up incorporating the mangroves into the 38 gallon, we'll have to transfer over our light as well as the little mount that we have. So if we put the 38 gallon onto another Imagitarium stand like this one, we'll be able to set up the mangrove light pretty easily and put it as tall as we need to. So that's not a big issue. We'll most likely place the mangroves towards the back over here if we do put them in here. And I think the lighting will be pretty easy to set up for those guys in this tank. So depending if we do softies in here or macroalgae, I think we got this tank pretty much figured out. The mangroves are most likely gonna go in here because there is no top to it and the mangroves need something to stick out of. So I think those are gonna go in the 38 gallon, and then for the 20 gallon, we'll be able to put the lid on and maybe add a couple of fish in here as well. But the question is, what do we put into this tank and what do we make it as a theme? I think we're gonna keep it as a frag tank and maybe try to do a traditional egg crate or frag rack style setup. We may do bare bottom if we do it as a frag tank, since It's going to be going on the bottom of one of these stands as well, so we're not going to be looking at it face on like this. So a frag tank on the bottom might not be a bad idea, especially if we keep this tank as a frag aquarium. So I don't know, if you guys have any ideas or themes for this aquarium, let me know. We do also have a fourth spot on this setup. So we have two of these Imaginarium stands. The 20 gallon is going to go on the bottom of one of these, but we have space on the bottom of the other stand as well. I have the two 3.7 gallons still ready to go, but we could also set up another 20 gallon below and throw something in there. Maybe an anemone tank. We could also set this tank up as a nem aquarium as well. But there's endless ideas of what we could do, and my mind's kind of just racing around figuring out what we can do. I think we've got the 30 and the 38 gallon figured out, but the 20 gallon and the space for the fourth tank, I'm not exactly sure what we're gonna do. Like I said, if you guys have any suggestions, then please leave it in the comments down below. I'm really open to your guys' ideas because a lot of them are really good, and I feel like you guys have a really good eye for what this stuff should look like and the aesthetic that even I'm going for. If you guys have any questions, then let me know in the comments, or you can reach me at my Instagram and send me a direct message. The link is in the description below. But with all that being said, I will be sure to catch you guys on the next one. Peace out.